Write a letter today. Would love to hear your thoughts on older guests. My partner and I met while studying in the United States and have been married for more than 10 years. I have been studying in the United States from undergraduate to PhD. Lived in many states. First 2 years. Due to multiple failures in the US work permit lottery, we immigrated to Canada. Now I have finally settled down to work in education and IT. But I'm about to turn 40. We never planned to have children. There are many reasons. Want to study. Need to work. Want to get permanent residence? I won't go into details about these external factors. But the main reason is that I feel that it is too much responsibility to have a child and raise him well. Time required. Too much energy. And we are enjoying our current world of two very much. So I never had children. It's been a little deserted these years except for holidays. Nothing wrong with anything else. But that's not a problem. If it's too deserted, why don't you go out and play? I just started thinking about a question recently. Why get married if you don't have children? This little DINK family is around me. There are many around me too. The friends in Vancouver that I often come into contact with include the DINK family. There are two types of reasons for the formation of DINK. Let's talk separately today. Well, the first type is temperamental. Physical factors. It's not that I don't want to be one or both parties. There is something wrong with your body. He can't give birth. What about this? We won't go into details today. Because this is a problem he can't solve. Can it be solved through high technology? Some are okay. Especially the female sexual factor. Through some conditioning. Or through some direct intervention of Western medicine. The possibility of retrieving eggs is very high. Well, the survival rate of male sperm is not high. Or if you have some temperament problems. This is not easy to solve. Can't solve it. What if that's the case? I would suggest that you just go out and buy a better sperm. Then you say, some men will say, oh. After all, the sperm I bought was not my child that could not be born. Although the child calls me father, he calls me daddy. But I always feel that it's not my kind. Just feel boring. I am more resistant to buying sperm or borrowing sperm. Well, what about this matter? Today I just separated from you. To be honest, I have actually considered this issue. It's not that I've encountered this problem before. That's me, I'm a person who likes to think about things blindly. I've seriously studied this topic. What's the problem? Have you ever thought about Genghis Khan? He treated his eldest son as his own. That eldest son is not his. And not only is it not his, it's his opponent's. And there were many emperors in ancient Rome. Because there are no heirs. He would rather choose a godson. Inherit one's throne. Well, if you call yourself father. And it seems that his genes are not good. Good moral character. This breed is good. He directly asked him to inherit the position of Roman emperor. Well, Westinghouse also has this royal tradition. So what's going on with this? Later I suddenly realized. Everyone, think about all the questions I ask you, the audience here. You and I don't think you can answer it. It's you who told us. Can you name your grandfather's father? Can you tell me the name of Grandpa's mother? Can you tell me the name of my grandfather's father? Can you tell me the names of my grandpa and mother? Grandma's story is even more telling. How lucky is this? This is the 4th generation. You fall from you up. Your parents' names. You all know your parents' parents. It's the grandparents. Grandpa. You may also know. But the parents of these 4 old people in his 3rd generation. You must not be able to name these 8 people. You have to be able to say it. This is basically 1%. Possible. I definitely can't tell you anyway. I know my grandpa. What's my grandma's name? I know what my grandma and grandpa are called. I don't know their parents at all. There is no genealogy in our family either. So, have you ever thought about what all the Chinese people call themselves? The descendants of Yan and Huang call themselves. What is a Confucian student? This is my student. Right? Then why? You recognize them. You know their names. But you don't know yourself. What about the biological ancestors for generations ago? This shows that human evolution has actually reached the state of cultural life. It's not natural anymore. The state of physical life is that human beings have evolved to have a soul. After having culture. His cultural identity and cultural inheritance are more important than DNA inheritance. You can't even tell where you came from. Your DNA is so messed up. Everyone is a big hybrid. But culturally, it's very distinct. So you have to understand this. Then you will suddenly realize. I can't even remember for generations ago. Are you still worried about whether you can pass it on to the fourth generation? Do you think that after 4 generations? Do your descendants still remember your name? Can't even remember whose DNA yours is? Don't remember at all. Not only can't remember. Even deny. Just like Hitler. Hitler was not an Aryan. Look at his little yellow look. How does he look like an Aryan? But he just said he was an Aryan. He calls it negation. Including some Jews. Everyone has seen some American Hollywood blockbusters with plots like this. Actually, this is real. There are some people who claim to be Jewish. Not Jewish. Some claim to be Mongolians. He is actually Zhangjiago. Not pure Han people from Zhangjiagang. Right? Who was I talking about at that time? He is also a phenomenal person and a celebrity. Well. I am a descendant of the Mongolian Han. In fact, you go to Paiyi. His DNA must be Zhangjiagang. Why? Just because culturally he agrees with it. He always talks about others. I really thought he was. Later I thought it was too. So cultural identity is very important. Then you know this situation. You go buy a sperm. Buy a good sperm. Then wouldn't it be equivalent to stealing it? Okay. The physical basis of DNA. Then culture, isn't it something you instilled into him yourself? Are you telling this kid who he is? How can children understand now? He has a fucking blank sheet of paper. He has grown up. How do you draw it for him? So you see you stealing other people's wallets? Steal other people's money. Oops. Made other people's money. You think you are beautiful and successful. Then you earned someone else's high-quality DNA. Wouldn't that be better? So as a male. Words from DINK's side. Everyone, please be more open-minded. As a woman. Then I want to open that egg even more. Then if you don't have one, borrow one for your husband. Or buy one for your husband. If this is the case, what should I do if I have a child? Because he is a cultural heritage after all. White people are better than us at this point. The Chinese don't even dare to tell others about it even if they bring it. You go report it. It's the truth from people who have accumulated so much that they don't even know when they are about to die. There is no point in not telling your children the truth. Because once you all know the status of this cultural gene, you are no longer stuck in biological genes. China. Japan. Well. South Korea. Why do so many people in Taiwan choose DINK and choose the proportion of D? Even more developed countries in the West. Don't think you'll be rich for a long time. You have been looking at Europe and the United States for a long time. Not so many DINKs. Moreover, the traditional countries and cultures of Europe and the United States. He advocates having many children. Many foreigners either don't have children and get married late. Once it starts, there are a large number of 5 or 6 around us. One after another, one after another. That mother was holding an and there was another hanging on her chest. Holding one here. Then he pushed it in the cart. 2 dads are carrying one and holding the other. We often see this kind of traveling scene. That's white people. No Chinese. No Asians. Not Chinese. There is no Korea, Japan, or China. Why? These civilizations in these places developed into modern times. He uses him to pursue the new civilization. He can't catch up. He used the method of extinguishing his descendants to achieve a pseudo-improvement in the living standards of the current generation. That is, he has reached a very high standard of living. For example, the parents of DINK who wrote to me. For example, Japanese families have a declining birth rate. Taiwan's families with decreasing birth rate. Their living standards are extremely high. Also, I want to travel around the world and so on. Well, there's plenty of time. But this is fake. This is illusory. He thought I really had that much money. I'm really so free. What is actually? In fact, it's you who lost you. At the expense of your children and grandchildren. This expenditure involves money. More about life and time experience. Because your time is very precious. Just like what you are encountering now. If you really have a family. You and your wife too. Husband too. It's impossible to show where to go to play again. Where to go to play status. You immigrated to this state. You don't have a community. There is no concept of community. That is to say, you children can only rely on yourselves. It is impossible for you and your parents to come to this community. The traditional believer society. Especially some rural societies. Parish society. In his church, there are children aged 13 or 14 playing with children aged 6 or 7. Children aged 6 or 7 are playing with children aged 2 or 3. That is to say, between parents, it is more like an ancient primitive settlement state. Raise your own pups. It's not just about the couple's efforts alone. Rather, it relies on the strength of the entire community. An extreme example of this is Mormonism. That even more Mormonism. The one inside the house is a school. Well, they are all children of the same family. So, this kind of situation makes our civilization in East Asia. Or, the new immigrants who moved to North America have such civilized and civilized families. Well, to maintain his standard of living. The so-called not falling. This kind of non-falling actually means that the original shape is not revealed. If you don't show your true colors, you'll cut off your own descendants. In fact, it is to satisfy the material level of one's own generation by cutting off the blessings of future generations. The truth is so cruel. It's just cruel. Then think about his feelings. For both of us. Two people are suitable for falling in love. Can help each other. We can play together. Then get married. But for both families. Brackets, especially the male family. Marriage is about starting a small family. By default, every small family has a child. Otherwise, why would you get married? Isn't it enough to just fall in love? No need to involve parents yet. Property and a series of other issues. Although we have many reasons to refute this view. And we don't live with our parents. My parents are also intellectuals from big cities. Not too narrow-minded. But for many people, marriage is a promise to have children. Family agrees. And bless our marriage. It means they have to make more physical and psychological preparations for us to get married. If you don't have children, all these preparations they made were in vain. Look at this audience member. Your letter ends here. You haven't sorted out your thoughts yet. But your pen has already begun to tell you the answer. You talked about your family. Talked about your father. The father's side is the emphasis placed on the male side of the family. Even making all-round preparations. Why? That's what I said. That is, before East Asian families enter the modernization stage. In fact, he has a community. He has the concept of marriage and consent. That is to say, human beings are in this state. In fact, there was actually unconscious evolutionary tissue self-organization ability before. In fact, humans were not conscious at that time. I don't even know why. But he has already formed this concept unconsciously. It means more children and more blessings. It is necessary to carry on the family lineage. Well, after getting married, you must have many children. And this responsibility and the right to supervise and implement is given to the man's family. This is the state of unconscious self-protection that humans have formed during the long process of evolution. Once this mechanism is established, so that the human population will not become smaller and smaller, the decline in the number of births will eventually lead to the elimination of descendants. Final extinction. But after entering the present, the original evolutionary mechanism of self-protection, after the disintegration of social mechanisms, this kind of confusion arises. On one hand, if your self-awareness awakens, your selfish genes begin to expand. Then you start not wanting to have a baby, because you realize that once you give birth, your standard of living has plummeted. But on the other hand, the memory preserved by your original ancestor. Struggle again. I'm fighting with you again and again. This is the problem you have now. Well, although we are not filial sons and daughters, I don't live with my family either. But there is always a sense of being a liar when someone makes a promise but doesn't keep it. Yes. Do you think this is true? But then again, when getting married, no one knows whether or when I will give birth to a child in the future. We just have to take it one step at a time. Look, when you are giving it to yourself, you too are just like when you write in your heart. Both of your parents are also highly intellectuals. In fact, although they have instinctively evolved this collective unconscious protection mechanism in their hearts, they are urging them to give birth to you. But they themselves don't know why. They are also unconscious. So their instincts and their rationality also have struggled. Then the parents must have revealed it inadvertently. A state that urges you to have children. Put invisible pressure on you. But when they are rational, when they are awake. But when they are alone, let them talk about respecting your own choices. Is this the case? The two parties are the previous generation and the descendant generation. Both sides are in this contradictory state. The right time to struggle. Maybe it will give birth. No one will tell their family when they get married. We don't promise to have children. So it's like accepting marriage. It is equivalent to the default premise of promising to have children. On the other hand, leave behind family wishes. Just tell us what we think. Our plan is to work until we are 60 and then retire. Then sell the house. Travel around the world. If you can no longer swim, move to a nursing home. We don't have any worries about inheritance, as long as the two of them live out their lives happily. Let me tell you a little story. Didn't I start attending adult high school in the past 2 days? I haven't dropped out of school yet. I can probably hold on for 10 or 20 days without any problem. Then what? I'm in the process of becoming an adult high school. I have a total of 11 classmates in my class. The teacher is called Randy. Where is the teacher? The Chinese translator's name is Randy. Randy is a third-generation Japanese American. Well, called Japanese American. Japanese Canadians who don't speak Japanese at all. The Japanese are completely localized. This is the thinking of a white man. And among the 11 classmates, there was a Kurdish refugee. A Ukrainian refugee. Well, an Iraqi refugee. These 3 refugees. Then there are a few Chinese people. Probably the remaining few include a Korean and a Japanese. The rest are all Chinese. The composition of a class with 2, 3, or 4 Chinese is diversified. The teacher asked a question. Say, if you all play Lian-Nair. That is, if you are all multimillionaires. How will you spend the money? How can you change your life? Tell each of us something. Well, I was the last one to say. Well, all the classmates in front of me, whether they are refugees or not, or whatever. Well, only one boy. It was the Kurdish refugee who said I wanted to buy a plane. Buy a small private jet. All the remaining students said I'm going to travel around the world. That's what you think. I come to my place because I am already a Biao-Lian-Nair. If I were not a Bi-Union-Nair, I actually may have been forced there. But if you turn me into a face chaser, in that case, that is this thing to me is not a subjunctive mood, or not a hypothetical state. I said something. I said live my current life. To live my current life. That's how I still live my life now. All people. Including teachers. Including Randy. Silent for 3 seconds. Then everyone started discussing it early in the morning. Well. Randy has been teaching for so many years. Randy is probably 55 years old this year. Randy has been teaching for so many years. Maybe this is the first time he has encountered this. Most people buy this, that, or travel around the world. Most people travel around the world. Have you ever thought about what it means to travel around the world? But deep down in your subconscious, traveling the world is an escape. It's escape. It's about escaping from the prison that's wrapped around you now. Now you are involved in all kinds of evil relationships like Wuluo. What makes money? What life? I'm tied up by work. So you hope that after you have a sum of money, escape. And I am the one who has escaped. Because I am already a trillionaire. And because I was once Belenal. Right? So when I look back, it's equivalent to your doctor reincarnating twice. You sit in this room. You will say my words to live my current life. Why to live my current life? Because I know I have 3 precious dirty children. They make me not want to escape this place. This is the real joy after we have children. I didn't brainwash you. The reason why I became an ultra-conservative Canadian. I have the same ideals as the Republican Party, or I have the same ideals as the Conservative Party. I encourage my children's education. I encourage families with many children. Then I encourage my children to engage in various jobs. Not only white-collar workers like this, but also this kind of blue-collar workers can enrich this society. Don't force your child to do anything he or she is not good at. I became such a father. I have a process like this. After I go through this process, when I figured it out, maybe when I have my first child, I'm still a little confused. I still tease him. I also beat him and scolded him. Well, then when I have 2 or 3, I will find that for every child, although the mother's DNA has not changed between me and the child. We are still a combination of those 2 people. But I tell you, really every child is different. Same couple. The difference between each of his children. Even greater than the difference between your child and other people's children. It's all possible. Completely different in terms of intelligence and personality. He is really God giving you different gifts. If the analogy is to give you a car, I'll give you a German one later. I'll give you a German one later. I'll give you an American one in a while. Each one has its distinctive characteristics. Then every time if you calm down and observe, they are all a perfect path given to you by God. So you hang out with these elves. You spend time with them. This is much happier than traveling around the world. Why are you running around? Run to the ends of the earth. What do you get? Can true happiness always be with you? If happiness is measured in time, you go to the Caribbean. It's time to go to Hawaii. That is to say, I will come back every 2 or 2 weeks. This is the past. But you are with him. He can bring you at least 18 years of continuous happiness. How will he go after 18 years? How does he develop? His happiness may come back again. I haven't felt this happy yet. But I believe that one day, I will sit here with you and talk again. Why? My eldest daughter is getting married. Or the eldest daughter has gone to college? Will happen soon. I will report my heart to everyone. My state of mind. Did my eldest daughter cry when we were traveling? Then when you get married. Did I just burst into tears? It's just a puddle of mud. This, I will tell you how I, feel. Well, I think that after we humans have gone through this process, our life is complete. Remember to like and follow.